Hey guys, today we're going to work on inequality word problems. And we are going to, before we kind of really get into this, there's some words that we need to know. So think about this symbol that you have right here and this symbol that you have right there. What are each one of those symbols? So that first symbol, what is that first symbol? That is greater than or equal to. Or equal to. So therefore, the next symbol must be less than or equal to. And when you are dealing with word problems for inequalities, there are certain words that are going to fall under the greater than or equal to column and the less than or equal to column. Okay, so we're going to look at a couple of problems first to see if we can figure out which ones those are. So let's go to the next couple of questions and see if through this we can figure out what inequality symbols are being used. Callie has at least one piece of gum. She has at least one piece of gum. What do you think the word at least means? Callie has at least one piece of gum. So she has one piece of gum. Does she have more than one piece of gum, or does she have less than one piece of gum? If she has at least one piece of gum, that means she has one piece or more. Oops. So what symbol would that be? That would be the greater than or equal to. So x is greater than or equal to 1. So the word at least falls under a greater than or equal to. Alex has no less than 2 hours of cheer practice every night. No less than 2 hours of cheer practice every night. No less than 2 hours. So what does that mean? That means she has 2 hours of cheer practice or more. Nothing less than 2. So she has 2 hours or more. So that would be x is greater than or equal to 2. So no less than also falls under the greater than or equal to. All right, next. As a minor, you can work no more than 12 hours per week. As a minor, you can work no more than 12 hours per week. What does that mean? Does that mean you can work 12 hours? Yes. It means you can work 12 hours, but you can't work more than 12 hours. So you can work 12 hours or less. So that would be x is less than or equal to 12. So no more than falls under the less than column. All right, what do we got next? NFL players need to bench a minimum of 275 pounds. So NFL players need to bench a minimum of 275 pounds. So what does that mean? Do they have to bench 275 pounds? Yes, they have to be able to bench 275 pounds or more. So that would be x is greater than or equal to 275. So the word a minimum falls under the greater than or equal to. All right, I think we got a couple more there. The fire code allows a maximum of 35 people in this classroom. A maximum of 35 people. So I can have, a maximum of 35 people. The most you can have is 35. So I can have 35 people or less. So that would be x is less than or equal to 35. So a maximum would fall under the less than or equal to. Let's see what that very last one is. teenagers should have at most 3 hours of screen time daily. So teenagers should have at most 3 hours of screen time daily. So what does that mean? That means you can have 3 hours of screen time. The most you can have is 3 hours. So you can have 3 hours or less. So that would be x is less than or equal to 3. So the word at most falls under the less than or equal to. So these are just some keywords that you need to know to decide whether in word problems, whether you're using a greater than or equal to or a less than or equal to. So let's dive right into the word problems that we have. And please keep in mind, those of you that are at home, the packet I gave you this week, I kind of have stuff all over the place. I apologize about that. I switched a couple things up. You should be able to follow along with me. You have all the questions in there. There are some that we may do and some that we may not do. Okay? Remember, unless I tell you you have to finish those ones we don't do together, you do not have to, unless I specify. All right, let's look at the question we have. So find keywords and turn them into symbols. We want to write in it, but this really should say write an inequality and solve. Okay? Peter deposited $27 in his savings account, bringing the total to over $234. Write and solve an inequality to represent the amount of money in Peter's account before the $27 was deposited. So I want to know how much money was in that account before I deposited $27. So think about, if you deposit money, is that being added or taken away? It is being added. So I had some amount of money plus the $27 that Peter deposited, and it says it's bringing the total to over 234. Well, if I'm going more than 234, I'm going greater than. This total on this side is greater than 234. But I have no clue how much was in there before I added the 27 to make it more than 234. So I'm going to let this be x. So I'm going to let x equal amount in account before deposit. So before I added in that $27 to make it greater than 234. So in order to solve for x, I got to take away that 27. So what do I get? What do I get here? Okay, if my account got to over 234, that means that in the account before the deposit, there had to be more than $207. So write out what this means. So x is greater than 207. Well, x was the amount of money in the account before the deposit. So before the deposit, there was more than $207 in the account, or in Peter's account, whatever way you want to say that. So just like when we did word problems with equations, make sure you're answering the question. This does not suffice as the answer. I need to put it into words, describe what that means. And this part right here is putting into words and describing what that means. All right, let's look at the next problem. The Science Club charges $4.50 per car at their car wash. How many cars do they have to wash to earn at least $300? So they charge $4.50 per car. Do I have any idea how many cars they washed? I don't. So I need to let X equal number of cars washed. So just like equations, make a let statement, then we'll make our inequality. All right, so it's $4.50 per car. So $4.50 times the amount of cars. So times X. I don't know what X is right now. I don't know how many cars. At least 300. So I could make 300, or I want to make more than 300. So greater than or equal to 300. In order to solve for X, I need to divide by 450. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 times X is X. Leave your inequality sign. And if I divide that, I get 66.6. Can you wash 66.6 cars? You can't. You can't wash 0.6 of a car. Okay? But if I only washed 66, I wouldn't make enough. So in this situation, I actually have to round that up to 67. So the number of cars needed to be washed is 67. I need to, or the Science Club needs to wash 67 or more cars to earn at least $300. So I had to think about that logically. I can't wash 66.6, but I knew that it needed to be greater than that. So the next number after 66.6 is 67. Okay, so think about it logically. Don't leave your answer like that. Write out what your answer actually means. All right, let's try number 3. Keith has $500 in a savings account at the beginning of the summer. He wants to have at least $200 at the end of the summer. He withdraws $25 per week for food, clothing, and movie tickets. How many weeks can Keith withdraw money from his account? All right, so currently he has $500 in his account. He wants to have at least $200. At least means I want 200 or I want more than that. So that's a greater, at least 200, greater than or equal to 200. And on this side has to be the rest of my inequality. He withdraws 25 per week. Withdraws means to do what? Very good, it means take away. So he takes away 25 per week. Does it tell me how many weeks? It doesn't. So I'm going to let X equal my number of weeks. But what am I subtracting that from? Well, how much did he have in his account at the beginning of the summer? He had 500. So he has 500 in his account at the beginning. He takes away 25 per week. I don't know how many weeks, so I have that X. And I want it to be at least 200. So now I'm going to solve for X here. I can't touch the negative 25X until I get rid of positive 500. So subtract 500. So negative 25X is greater than or equal to negative 300. Now, if I want to finish solving for X, I need to divide by negative 25. Now, ask yourself this. What happens when you multiply or divide both sides of an inequality by a negative number? Very good. Your inequality sign flips around. Negative 300 divided by negative 25 is 12. So I have X is less than or equal to 12. Now remember, X was my number of weeks. So now let's answer the question. It says, how many weeks can Keith withdraw money from his account? Well, it has to be less than or equal to 12 weeks. So Keith can withdraw money for 12 weeks or less and still have at least 200 in his account. At least $200 in his account. Okay, so I wrote out what my answer means. Don't just leave this. This is not your answer. That helps you write out in words what the actually question is asking you. All right, let's try one more together. And that is going to be number 4. So Donna is spending her vacation in Florida. She rents a car and is offered 2 different payment options. She can either pay $25 each day plus 15 cents per mile, or she can pay 10 each day plus 40 cents per mile. Write an inequality where option A will be the cheaper plan. So where option A, where you will spend less money on option A. So let's go back and see. She can pay 25 each day plus 15 cents per mile for option A. Well, $25 plus 15 cents per mile, so plus 0.15. Do I know how many miles? I don't, so I'm going to let x equal my number of miles. So let x equal number of miles. So there's option A. Now option B says $10 plus 40 cents per mile. So $10 plus 0.40x. So I have my option A over here and my option B over here. Write an inequality where option A will be cheaper. It will be cheaper. I will pay less for option A. So I'm going to use a less than sign. And I'm going to solve for x to figure out how many miles. So I got variables on both sides here. I'm going to subtract this one. See what that has me left with. 25 is less than 10 plus, what's that, 0.25x? I can't touch this until I get rid of plus 10, so minus 10. So 15 is less than 0.25x. If I want to finish getting x by itself, divide by 0.25. Anything divided by itself is 1. 1 times x is x. Bring down my inequality sign. I did not divide by a negative, so I don't need to switch anything around here. And I get 60. So write that correctly, inequality first. Remember, the mouth of the inequality is open towards the x, so keep it. So 60 has to be x has to be greater than 60. What does that mean? Remember, x is your number of miles. So if your number of miles has to be greater than 60, what's the next number that's greater than 60? That would be 61. So if Donna drives 61 miles or more, then option A will be cheaper. And I could figure that out by plugging in the 61 in here for x. So if I did 21 plus 0.15 times 16, would that be less than 10 plus 0.40 times 61? Well, let's use my calculator from here. So if I grab my calculator, 25 plus 0.15 times 61, I get 3415. to bring it to the side here. Is that going to be less than this side right here? 10 plus 0.40 times 61. Well, that's going to be 3440. So, is this option cheaper? Is option A a better deal than that? Yes, I don't want to pay that much money. I want to pay the lesser of the option. So, if she drives 61 miles or more, then option A will be cheaper. Make sure you go ahead and check on Google Classroom as to what you have.